All right, Falcons fans, it is the week that you're waiting for. We finally get to talk about an actual football game, not preseason, regular season, and it's a big NFC-style showdown against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers when they come to play at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And here to break it all down is my good friend and sometimes Locked On co-host, Mr. Aaron Freeman. He is just the face of Locked On Falcons and such a good analysis for all things Falcons. Aaron, appreciate you being here. Game week officially here for the Falcons, and we know that it's going to be a much anticipated debut for a lot of guys, but what do you think the Falcons' key to a win in this one will be?
Well, the further we go along, the more football evolves, but the more it kind of stays the same, Maria, where the game is won and lost in the trenches. And I think if the Falcons can control the line of scrimmage, particularly given some of the concerns they have at the right tackle position with starter Caleb McGarry out of the lineup, they're able to keep this offense on schedule either through the passing game or on the ground so that they don't necessarily get into some third and long situations where that Bucs pass rush with guys like Vita Vea and Khalid Kancey and now newly added Hassan Reddick can pin their ears back and get after the quarterback. I think that will be a key for the Falcons' success on offense. And I think defensively, it's the similar sort of conversation. Winning the line of scrimmage, whether that's stopping the run and getting after Baker Mayfield, I think will be a huge part of this Falcons' success come week one.
Remember, Baker's been dealing with a little bit of an injury, but head coach Raheem Morris said he doesn't believe it. He said that in a press conference a couple weeks ago. We'll see just how healthy that quarterback is. Now, you mentioned the trenches and the offensive line for the Falcons. They have run into a lot of bad luck, Aaron, as you and I have discussed many times. But Tampa, honestly, in a very similar boat with their injuries, if not worse than the Falcons. They could be without 4 key offensive players next Sunday. How much of an impact could that have on this game?
It could have a huge impact where when you're looking at this Bucs offense, particularly being down left tackle Tristan Wirfs, wide receiver Chris Godwin's out, wide receiver Jalen McMillan's out, tight end Cade Otton could also be limited. And as you mentioned, the quarterback may also be dealing with some issues as well. That potentially limits the Bucs' firepower. And in a game that we saw, 2 games last year, where we saw basically shootouts where basically the team fastest to 30 points was the team that was in a position to win the game at the end. Not having that firepower on the Bucs standpoint could be, impactful in the end, particularly in the fourth quarter if the Falcons defense needs to get a stop. And it will be a lot easier if they're not dealing with some of those high caliber weapons that the Bucs are dealing with or the Bucs have out of the lineup. So I think these injuries could have a dramatic impact on the outcome of this game, particularly late in the game where, it may boil down to whoever has the ball last might win it.
It's going to be exciting. It always is whenever Tampa and Atlanta meets up. Now, I wanted to bury this question a little bit further in so people pay attention, and they were waiting for us to talk about the quarterback, Michael Penix Jr. Finally, it is his team. We're actually going to see him in a game. We know he didn't play any preseason action this year, but in 2024, he did play in 5 games, started 3 of them, all 3 of the last ones of the 2024 season. So the MPX era, it is here. It has arrived. How do you think it will begin?
I hope it begins even better than it ended, right? Where you saw the Falcons score 38 points against the Carolina Panthers. We won't comment on how many points the Panthers scored in that game. But I think if you can get off to a fast start, you saw this Falcons offense really get after the Bucs defense in both of their games with Kirk Cousins. And given the expectation that the ceiling for this Falcons offense is potentially higher with the younger Michael Penix, with his athleticism, with his arm talent, I think it's not crazy to expect a similar sort of big number on the scoreboard for the Atlanta Falcons come Sunday, week 1. So I'm hoping to see, this firepower get fully unleashed and unlocked come week 1.
We'll see what happens with Darnell Mooney. We know that he has been dealing with some issues. Hopefully he can go out there against Tampa Bay. But Mike has looked so good throughout training camp, so we're excited to see what he looks like and all those weapons that he has to play with as well. Now, we do know that a couple of Falcons rookies will definitely be starting in the secondary, right? Xavier Watts opposite of the veteran Jesse Bates there at safety, and then Billy Bowman is the starting nickel for this team. Potentially a few more, Aaron, depending on what the plan is for James Pierce Jr. and Jalen Walker. We'll get those answers shortly, but what rookie will impress the most against Tampa, in your opinion?
Well, the answer I hope is the correct answer is Billy Bowman, because he's going to be the guy that's going to have to do part of the heavy lifting of keeping Mike Evans in check. Mike Evans has been a Falcon killer for the last 11 years that he has been in Tampa Bay. He almost always has at least one monster performance against the Atlanta Falcons per year. It's usually the first matchup, and then usually the Falcons will make adjustments in that second game and keep him in check. But if the Falcons can keep him in check come week one, Billy Bowman's going to be a big part of that. The Bucs do like to utilize Mike Evans, out of the slot on about a quarter of his snaps. And so about a quarter of the time, the 5'10", 190-pound Billy Bowman's going to find himself lined up against a nearly 6'5", 235-pound Mike Evans. And that's going to be a big challenge for Billy Bowman. But he has the sort of physicality, the feistiness, the toughness to not back down from that challenge. And I hope, he will be able to show himself that, hey, he belongs in this league by taking on one of the NFL's best wide receivers right out the gates.
Billy Bowman's a scrappy player. It's why the Falcons drafted him, and hopefully how he's going to get to Mike Evans. You mentioned what a tough task for him week one. All right, last question for you. I would be remiss if I didn't ask you who you think is going to win this season opener for the Falcons.
Got to go with the Falcons.
Yeah.
I've been picking them the last several years to win the opener. It hasn't always gone my way, but I'm going to keep, planting my flag on that hill. And I think given their success sweeping the Bucs last year, it's at home. It's a great way to set the season off in the right way. I expect a similar kind of shootout type of game where we might see both of these teams get into the 30s on the scoreboard, but I do expect the Falcons to walk away with the W.